Call to order the regular session of Gladstone City Commission. First order of business will be the invocation said by Commissioner Gay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening that we can come together and do the business of the city. We thank you for this wonderful season of harvest and plenty. We ask, Lord, that you would provide us with wisdom as we contemplate these many issues we need to deal with this evening. Father, we finally would ask again that you continue to lay your hand of security and safety on the men and women of our armed forces. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item will be the invocation. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hunter,
Here.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Mattinen,
Excused.
Commissioner Mackey,
Here.
and one vacancy.
One vacancy. So the next item, we have the public comment, but we're going to move, or excuse me, we're going to, there's a couple of changes to the agenda. Under new business, agenda item M, I'd like to rescind that if I get a motion to rescind.
So moved.
Support. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. So we'll rescind that, and then under new business L, the bid for a Gladstone area school bus garage. I'd like to go into an executive session to discuss that matter.
Which I assume we'll move on it when we get to that agenda
Yes.
item, right?
So, yep, very good. Thank you. All right, we'll go to public comment. We'll move from public comment. We'll call it the consent agenda. We have the City Commission regular meeting minutes of September 23rd, 2013. City Commission special meeting minutes of September 30, 2013. The Gladstone Planning Commission regular meeting minutes of August 20, 2013. Parks and Recreation regular meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2013. And the Gladstone EDC special meeting minutes of September 27, 2013.
Move to approve as submitted.
Support.
A motion support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's passed. We'll move on to public hearings. Unfinished business. We don't have any of those. Right on to new business. Okay, we're looking at the petition by property owners for a fireworks ordinance. Ms. Falcon.
We had 6 property owners have submitted a request for the commission to consider an ordinance to limit fireworks in the city of Gladstone. Mr. Larry Peterson had approached the commission after a previous meeting and kind of discussed this a little bit regarding the fireworks in his area. He was planning to be here tonight, but due to his work schedule, he was unable to attend. A copy of the agenda was sent to all the residents that signed the petition. I guess at this point, we're just recommending, you know, kind of throw this back to staff. Let us do our research. The fireworks laws have changed recently, and we don't have an ordinance on the books approving or disapproving any of that. So, if we could do our research and bring this back at the next meeting or first meeting in November, we would have more information.
No, Director Geyer, I'm sure, is well versed in this. I did my research as well because we had to make our changes, but it's very limited what we can do for local ordinances, but there are some things we can do.
We can basically limit the display of fireworks on all but 30 days. The 30 days being around the 10 recognized holidays and the day before and the day after. So some of what he has in this letter, we can obviously deal with from a safety standpoint if there's debris coming down, but the fact that they might be able to light fireworks off if they're doing it safely on those designated days might still be something that they're allowed to do.
Right, and it would be. The biggest thing I think what we may be able to enact that would help for your department to enforce would be the hours of operation. That's one thing that we can do.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, when he was in here, his biggest concern is that they were,
56.
that a lot of the debris was landing on his property and some of the other property owners, and some of the direction of the larger shells were potentially dangerous, so I think that would probably,
Yeah.
help them out, but we are,
I really haven't asked if anybody's tried to deal with that through a littering type enforcement. If you can prove that it was that group of people per se that was setting off fireworks and it was, you know,
Yeah.
landing in your yard, the talk, you know, the listservs that I belong to was mainly the noise issue, the hours, the days we can regulate it, which is set by the state law. I haven't really asked if anybody's tried to go on a littering end, so to speak.
does the littering law, does that apply to private property as well, or is that only on public property at road right-of-ways?
No, that would also.
It would also
Yep.
apply to public, or private? Okay.
Plus, I think when, and I'm not sure what the city ordinances are here for littering, but I know in Escanaba, there's some, your own ordinances on the books that could cover that as well. Somebody
I think
else's garbage.
state law
can.
has a $500 fine as well, under state code.
I do know, I'm sorry, I do know that there was talk from Lansing about amending some of these laws, the statute, because there actually were more injuries and damage to property than what initially was thought going to happen. They saw it as a revenue maker for the state. Obviously it did. But there has been some talk about changing or amending, which is not unusual for a law to come out and amend some of it.
And it is a revenue maker for the state of
Oh,
Michigan.
yeah.
The funds gained from the sale of fireworks are used to support firefighter training. And I know Delta County just recently received notice from the state that there was an extra $10,000 supplied for training for our county, which normally we get like 3. So when you think about that statewide, it did generate quite a bit of money to go towards training.
When we were approached at our last commission meeting by Mr. Peterson about the problem, he indicated that it was probably a big misunderstanding that's escalating between the property owners. And this morning, another property owner contacted me again, said he wouldn't be able to be at the meeting tonight, but he said he felt like Francis Scott Key the other night, Star Spangled Banner writer. And he indicated that it seems like the problem is escalating, like maybe people are getting madder at each other.
Well, then they need to call when those incidents are happening.
So I
because
tell
we
everybody,
haven't-
if you don't tell the department, you can't do anything, right?
We haven't had any recent complaints that I'm
Okay.
aware of, but they might have felt that it was going to be addressed, you know,
Right.
via this process, but they need to call when those individual incidents are happening.
I believe that was articulated to Mr. Peterson too, at the last meeting, that they needed to let PD know. Do you need a motion for this or no?
Oh, I don't think so. You do? Oh, yes.
Motion to table? A motion to table?
No, it's to authorize city staff to research.
Motion to authorize city
Motion to
staff.
authorize,
Yeah,
okay.
To bring it back to you, otherwise it's.
gotcha. Thank you.
I'd move to authorize city staff to research the possibility of a fireworks ordinance in the city of Gladstone and report back to the commission their recommendation within 45 days? Is that acceptable?
Support.
Like,
I'm asking,
first, you have to have a full commission to get the ordinance anyway. but-
Right, we will not be able to pass an ordinance
Till, after the election, but to research what,
But is that enough?
state law, what do we have on the books now, what is the recommendation? And,
is that adequate time for you to do that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. They have a motion supported. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, motion's carried. I don't know why I'm asking opposed, just have it. I heard three of us. All right, next item will be the MMRMA RAP grant for patrol vehicle purchase. Dr. Geyer.
Well, I didn't notice this until now on the agenda. It's not actually a RAP grant for the patrol vehicle purchase. The agenda items that I have below that are RAP grants. But this initial one is just to approve the purchase of the vehicle. It's not to apply for a RAP grant through MMRMA for the vehicle. In your packet, I had the staff report detailing that we're proposing to purchase a 2014 Ford Interceptor utility all-wheel drive patrol vehicle through Gorno Ford out of Woodhaven, Michigan, which they are the state contract holder for the Ford Interceptors. We're a My Deal member, therefore we go through them when purchasing our vehicles. They usually, the My Deal state contract holders, have the best price, have the best timing in terms of getting the vehicle to us, and those vehicles already meet the state police specifications, which we usually adopt and get for our vehicles. I guess I've attached the quote from Gorno Ford. There were some options that we added on to it. The two biggest options probably are towards the bottom, where it talks about the front headlamp solution and the rear tail lamp solution. Basically, those options are one that an upfitter, such as we use up here to put our equipment in the car, they can do, but it's much more economical to have Ford do that when they're building the car. Otherwise, the upfitter has to basically take apart the whole car to run all those wiring solutions to the front and the rear headlamps. So that increases the cost a little bit from the state contract price, but I guess if you had any questions about the vehicle, I can try to answer those.
Does this replace the four-wheel drive unit you've got?
Well, it does. It replaces our Ford Explorer, but I've spoken with the city manager, and it's hopefully my intention to keep that Explorer as a fire utility vehicle to pull our ice rescue trailer and or the hovercraft. We've had several incidents where the Explorer has been out on patrol and or out of the town over at either the jail or the hospital for some sort of incident, and we have an ice rescue call and we're relying on somebody's private vehicle, so to speak, to pull that trailer or hovercraft where it needed to go. So I'm hoping that we can keep that vehicle. We used to have 4 vehicles in the department. I'm sure you're aware we went down to 3 marked units. We've seen some difficulty with that in terms of having a car, when we have a car out of service for some maintenance, or if we have an accident related to a vehicle, hit a deer, those types of things. So I'm proposing that we keep the Explorer and use it as a fire utility vehicle.
Is this, when you call it an all-wheel drive, would you also call that a four-wheel drive vehicle?
Yeah.
Then?
Yes.
So it's good in the winter.
Yes.
It's got clearance and all the wheels are pulling.
Right. Which we absolutely need.
Oh,
We
I
need at
definitely
least,
agree.
We need
I
at
used
least
to argue
one.
when I worked here, and the previous director, as you well know, didn't want to have a four-wheel drive vehicle. And there are times in the winters when a rear-wheel drive patrol car just ain't going to get no place.
Right.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Is the Explorer going to stay fully marked, like
It's
bar,
gonna-
everything?
Yep, it's going to stay fully marked because everything that's in it right now, with the exception of the 800 megahertz radio, can't really go in this new vehicle. I mean, the dimensions have changed, so the bumper guard, the seat partition, the center console, all those things have to be changed on this new vehicle. So that's my plan. Other than that vehicle won't have an 800 megahertz radio, it'll just have the VHF radio. But it'll be able to be used as a marked vehicle if we need to in an accident type situation.
Well, that's what I was hoping for, because
Right.
bad weather, you may need 2.
We may need 2.
May need 2, or maybe this one is down, and you
Yep.
need to pull the trailer or the hovercrafts.
Exactly.
Personally, I like. What do you like about this as opposed to the Tahoes? I'm just curious.
I can get it. That's an
Well, there
honest
you go.
answer, because when I contacted the Chevy dealer for the Tahoes, which come in a two-wheel drive pursuit rated version, this is pursuit rated at all-wheel drive. The Chevy Tahoes, only the two-wheel drive is pursuit rated. The four-wheel drive is not pursuit rated. And my response from the Chevy state contract holder was, Chevy just notified 2,000 police departments across the U.S. that they were not going to get their Tahoe because they're that far behind and having issues or something related to that. And he said, I can let you know by Friday, which was a couple Fridays ago, whether you'll be able to get one or not. And he never got back to me, and I haven't had any luck trying to get a hold of him again. The Tahoes are not available right now.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The reason I asked is for the first time I drove our new one, which has about 6,000 miles on it, so we were fortunate to apparently get ours
Yep.
before they got backlogged. But I like the clearance and so on, the visibility.
The one thing that's nice about this new Ford Interceptor is the utility version and the sedan version, which I'm thinking ahead of possibly going back to the Ford. Used to be the CVPIs, now it's the Interceptors. They're built on the same body chassis. They have the same dimensions inside the vehicle. So one cage can be used to, one seat partition can be used. The center console can be used. It's the same interior dimensions on both cars. So.
Good. Commissioner Gams, sorry, go ahead.
This is the same type of vehicle that MSP's new SUVs are. I mean, it's kind of a takeoff of the Explorer, isn't it? Is it the same one I'm thinking
I
of?
think they have Tahoes.
The
I've
state.
seen some smaller
ones,
brand
yeah,
new
that's the
smaller
ones he's
ones.
thinking about.
Yes, the state is utilizing these Interceptors as well as the Tahoes.
Okay.
I believe the state Tahoes are all two-wheel drive vehicles. I don't think they're four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
They have a very limited number of four-wheel drives that are not used in normal everyday patrol because they're not pursuit rated.
I don't think I'd want to be pursuing with the vehicle you talked about. I mean, that's a great vehicle in the city, but at high speed, they are you're up high.
Ours is actually the four-wheel drive version.
I think I pointed out too, and maybe I didn't. The funds used to purchase this vehicle are coming from carryover funds since we got out of the equipment fund and back into a system where that money is basically monitored by me during the year to use on maintenance, insurance, and then we put money away. That money's carried over. There's about $35,000 that has carried over to this fiscal year, which I'm going to eat it up with this vehicle purchase and the upfitting of the car.
To use accounting lingo for what he just said, is this reserved fund balance?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
That's a good way of putting it.
That's you're talking like policeman. I'm talking like accountant.
Yep.
You, Mark.
Any other questions for Director Guy?
So I guess what I'm asking for is allowing me to sign the order for the 2000 Ford Interceptor for the price of $30,157 and move forward with the purchase.
Move to approve.
Support?
We have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? What color is it?
Black.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's passed. Right, next item on the agenda will be MMRMA RAP grant for the bumper guard. Director Geyer.
As you know, our insurance carrier, the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, has their risk avoidance program, hence the term RAP grants. We're able to apply for partial funding to help us in a variety of areas that allow us to lower our risk. One of the things that they have some standard funding for is a bumper guard on the front of our vehicles, patrol vehicles. those guards serve two purposes. One is they usually have integrated lighting that allows for traffic safety, and then they also serve as a guard for the front of the vehicle in case you have a deer collision or you need, hence they used to call them push bumpers, because you'd be able to move vehicles off the road in an emergency situation. So the RAP grant that I have attached here is for partial funding. The total cost of the bumper guard with integrated lighting is about $1,200, of which $500 may be funded by MMRMA. Their deadline to apply for these RAP grants is October 31st, so I'm looking to approval to have myself and the city manager, who is our member rep for MMRMA, sign the application and submit it to them for consideration. It doesn't mean that they'll guarantee funding for it, but we at least should try, in my opinion.
Any questions, Director Guy?
Move to approve. Support.
Okay. Got a motion, support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Okay, the next item will be the MMRMA RAP grant prisoner partition.
Same description of what it's for, except in this instance it's for the partition between the front seat and the rear seat of the new vehicle. Obviously for safety concerns from some of the violent encounters we have with certain people. MMRMA funds possibly $250 of the estimated $1,000 for the partition. So again, I'm asking for your approval to have myself and the city manager sign that application and submit to MMRMA.
Move to approve. Support.
The motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, next item will be the MMRMA RAP grant in-car cameras.
Again, the MMRMA application, this one is a little different in that we currently do not have in-car cameras in our patrol vehicles. If you've read the RAP grant and looked through it, I kind of go into the history of what we've tried to do in the past, which was about 15 years ago. We had one unit that didn't work very well. It was handed down to us, and after about 6 months was shelved and never seen again. The technology has come a long way, and not only that, but so has the expectation that we have recorded footage of traffic stops and accident scenes and different things that we do on a daily basis. MMRMA supplies partial funding again for the purchase and installation of cameras. The total project that I have listed here is about $14,000, of which actually I forgot to update the staff report. The total project is $14,994, which includes approximately $600 in installation costs, and then about $1,280 to purchase and install an NAS, which is a network attached storage box to our server that would allow, obviously, audio and especially the video files take up a lot of storage. We need the ability to have that not only backed up properly and have enough space, but that it's redundant. So in case we have a hard drive that fails, we'd have the ability to have that saved on different drives. So MMRMA possibly has about $4,500 in funding for us, so it looks as though our cost would be the balance of that. And I've researched a lot of different systems And the system that we're proposing is utilized by Marquette County. It's utilized by all the Dickinson County agencies, and then the Delta County Sheriff's Department is looking at getting the same units. I don't know what Escanaba uses.
Well, I was talking to our captain today, and we're looking at getting some new ones ourselves because the other ones are getting older. So they may be in contact with you to see if there's even a better price if we have all the agencies going in at the same time.
Yeah, so, and there very well may be that I've heard great things about this system. There's obviously several options that I could get in different ones, and those are all available down the line, but some of the main ones I've included is the rear seat microphone, the rear seat issues so that we can have that liability end covered. And then the automatic record crash sensor, which I think is important on our vehicles, that if we are involved in a crash, the data will go, you know, that video would go back, I believe it's 120 seconds. So, you know, it's at least 2 minutes prior to record everything that's happening, you know, prior to that accident crash. And I'm proposing using Olson Trust money, which I know you're aware of, is supposed to be for our use to purchase things that we might not normally be able to do, and we haven't normally been able to do this for many years. So I would really like to be able to get those utilized in our vehicles.
Is there any questions for Director Guy on this?
Nope, he just answered the only one I had.
Comment, in the grant application, one of the questions you're expected to answer is what are the project goals and plan of action to resolve the risk exposure? And your answer is, please see the response above. Frankly, I am weary of having to continue to respond to complainants and our attorneys' requests for video and or audio footage with an answer that we simply don't have it. In this day and age, it is expected that we have it and is needed to properly address our internal and external operations regarding risk. I would think that most citizens would assume you already have that, so if you don't have it, it's because you can't afford it and this is something you should be doing.
Most do.
Identified a source of outside money.
Yeah, most do suspect that we already have it and we're utilizing it,
Right.
and we just haven't been able to.
Right.
I have just a couple of things. Is this correct when I see where it says 9 terabytes for the network attached storage?
Yep.
That's a cheap price for 9 terabytes.
It is. It is, and I asked the same question when I researched that too, and it's the storage is getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
What's more important is how it's configured onto your network.
Yep.
And how it's backed up to where it's redundant.
The second thing is the video playback. Is that through the rearview mirror, or is there a separate monitor?
There is a separate. There's a monitor attached to the unit. It's recorded on an SD card.
Yeah.
So you can, I mean, you could pull that card and you could view it on any sort of reader that you'd have attached to a laptop or any sort of computer.
Move to approve.
Support?
Okay, a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion's carried.
Thank you.
Good work, thanks. Okay, next time on the agenda will be the MMRMA RAP grant for the Water Department security cameras.
Sorry, we were trying to figure out what a terabyte was.
I was doing the same thing. I know what
It's a thousand. It's a thousand gig.
Yes.
I'm Googling gigabyte right now.
It's pretty similar to what Paul's doing. We're putting a security system at the water plant, which is long overdue. Cameras. We've had a couple of incidents around the plant. Never anything inside. Knock on wood. And the cameras that are going to be there are going to be outside cameras, and they're going to be high definition cameras, and we're going to be having them shining on the tanks in the garage, front door, back door, ponds in the tank, and the shore well area by the fire hydrant. We'll also probably get a pretty good look at what's happening out at Saunders Point. We're also going to put cameras up at the Reservoir Booster Station, which is up on the bluff, which is where we store 1 million gallons of our source of water for the night. And we'll have 2 cameras there, one on the main gate. The other one will be shooting towards the top of the reservoir and be getting the backside of Tom's substation up there and the antenna. So the total for the 2 monitors and the cameras and the DVR is going to come out right about $10,000, and so Murma will pay $5,000 of that.
Is there any questions for Mr. Buckman?
Comment, you said it'll also get a look at Saunders Point. You can see every
Yeah,
once in a
that's
while
it.
things happen on Saunders Point.
Yeah.
You can ride down there.
Yeah, I'm anxious to put one on a monitor and see how close we can zoom in with these cameras. They're
Would you like to see a license plate?
a high resolution camera that sees in the dark. So
And that was my question, if they're IR or not, but obviously they are. Infrared, sorry.
Paul's translating over there for you.
I can't talk chemicals, but I know this stuff. Is there any other questions for Mr. Buckman?
I move that we allow them to apply for the grant.
Support.
Okay, a motion in support. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, next item will be the 2013-14 proposed recreation user fees. Ms. Anderson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So in front of you, you have our proposed user fees. These fees have gone in front of the rec board, and we've discussed them, and this is their recommendation. For the 2013-2014 year, our user fees are presented a little bit different than some of the other departments, and we adjust ours right before the ski hill starts opening. God, I can't see close, I can't see far. So a breakdown basically is that we are leaving, with the recommendation of Jay at our campground, we're going to be leaving our campground fees the same. We did adjust them last year, and they are still right around the same as our local people, middle of the road. And we feel that our campground is, of course, top-notch, and it gets a lot of use. And so with the recommendation of Jay, we're going to leave them the rates the same, although we are going to either add 3 to 4 more sites down there. We have room, and we have the utility connections to do that. So we are planning on adding a couple of more sites to allow Jay some more flexibility so he doesn't have to keep turning people away. The programs we feel are pretty good. We set, and you'll see throughout this, resident and non-resident rates. So we feel that those are adequate, and we're giving our citizens, you know, a pretty good discounted rate on our programs. So if you live within the city, you can have your kids be in our programs, and they're relatively inexpensive. The boat ramp, seasonal boat launch, beach house rental, and sports park rental, we're leaving all the same. We also did the resident and non-resident rates for those areas. The sports park, we're leaving the same also, because until we can really make an effort to create a product that we can sell, we're still asking for, like, what do they call it, forgiving rates right now. We are hoping with the improvements that we do up there this year, after this year, we can really start addressing our rates up there. But the big one comes down to the harbor. Is there any questions up until this point?
I do just have one
Okay.
real quick. Daily tubing, it says half day, $8.
Is there not full tubing?
On Saturday and Sunday, there's half tubing.
Just half tubing? It's
And then if you want to do the full day, that it's $14.
Okay, I just saw it on a daily combo. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
During Monday, Thursday, and Friday night, it
That's-
would be $8.
Yeah, that's half.
Yep.
yeah. I thought the combo meant skiing and tubing.
And it does. It also it also refers to that.
Thanks.
So with the harbor, and us becoming part of the waterways fee schedule, we had a couple of different ways we could have went, and if we were to stay, there's different tiers you can choose. And if we were going to stay with a tier that was similar to the one that we're on now, we would end up losing money, or we would be making less money than we are right now. So we have to move up one tier. We can move up 5 tiers if we wanted to, but we'd price ourselves right out. So the next tier that we can choose comes up with these numbers. And a 25-foot slip goes from $957 to $1,100, which is a 15% increase. Down the line, 30-foot pier, 1061 goes up to 1350. It's a 27% increase. A 45-foot pier, 1753 goes up to 2295, which is a 31% increase. And although the West End did not receive new docks, they are receiving jig poles and the luxuries of being part of a new harbor. So we did raise their rates also, and we went from $539 to $600. That's not part of the waterways system. That's something separate. So we could choose what we'd like to do on that area, and that's an 11% increase. So after really throwing it around and really looking it over, we have to choose one of their tiers. We don't have an option of saying, okay, we only want to go up 11%. We have to go up 27%, or we have to stay at a different tier, which is going to bring us making less money than we were. The last time we raised the rates was over 3 years ago for the harbor. Escanaba's rates, in comparison, they're choosing tier 7, which is a tier higher than what we're choosing, so their rates will be higher than ours. If that puts it
The
into.
harbor remains fully occupied, is that correct?
We had 2 open spots this year.
Has there been any discussion about diminishing returns, i.e. the harbor is not as fully occupied with increases in rates?
As far as, everybody would love to not have the rates increased.
Well, I'm sure they would.
However, I have gotten some positive feedback from from portions of all of the 25-foot, the 30, and the 40-foot boaters that say, you haven't raised the rates in 3 years. We have a brand new harbor. You have to do what you can do.
When you came to us last year, I remember you said all of a sudden, hey, this means we have to create a new fund, which we've done. So no longer is the harbor part of the general fund. It is now its own self-sustaining business, so to speak. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, if you're going to raise rates, you're going to start generating money into that fund, and I'm sure the boaters are going to want to spend that money in capital projects, rather than, which is possible, the commission making a fully legal transfer of funds from a fund to another fund. So I'm guessing that if you're going to become more profitable, you're going to be doing more capital projects down the harbor.
Well, and there are some
And
more
that's
capital.
not a bad thing.
And there are some more capital projects that can be done,
Sure.
and using the matching funds instead of borrowing from the electrical fund if
Right.
we start building up our capital. A lot of positive feedback. The boaters feel very comfortable that they have their own fund down there now.
Oh, sure.
So they don't mind spending a little. It'd be like anything. Well, that money's going to go back into the harbor. So
Right.
it's really. I'm sure we're probably going to get a little bit of static. For one thing, we haven't raised the rates in over 3 years, so
Right.
that's going to be something. But my comment is, there's no place else to go that's cheaper. We're still the cheapest place, and we have a top-notch harbor,
Right.
and of course, we still want to continue to do more improvements. We also, when we put together our budget, my fuel prices, when I price my fuel, I don't overprice my fuel. So our boaters that are in our harbor have the luxury of not getting charged a lot of money for fuel. We don't make a ton of money off of our fuel. We also don't spend a ton of money in wages down there. And they realize that, so they appreciate that. Operating costs for the harbor are about $40,000. You know, we make 70. So, I mean,
Well, we knew when we entered into this waterways that we were going to have to do this.
Yep.
We discussed it.
I think the voters were aware of it as well.
Yeah,
so.
but I think if you look at the value for the dollar, I mean, with the harbor, the way it looks now, the accessibility, all of the other amenities that are there, I see it as a no-brainer as far as we're keeping the rates as low as we can, and they have a heck of an improvement on the sport that they enjoy. So I don't think, you may get one or two, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of static, especially considering they now can kind of control their own destiny
A little bit,
with
yeah.
their own fund.
I think that's huge for them.
So
And
because oftentimes they're predisposed to thinking that, well, it's all going into this big pot, and then you got 5 people that sit up here and do what they have to do, and they don't really have a say in things.
Yep.
But now that they have more of a say in it, I think they would be far more comfortable with it, and I think this is.
And I think that they see that
Spot
their
on.
money that they spend every year, if they're spending $1,000 on a boat slip, they're really getting a good value for that. And I don't think that we will get a lot of complaints. My other thought is, if we would have raised the rates anywhere from 3 to 5% a year, which we usually do, you know, you usually try to keep, you know, up, you know, so you don't have to have these big 27% increases. But our docks were falling apart, you know, utilities were falling in the water, so we once again held off. So instead of getting little increments here and little increments there, now they're gonna have to do that, but they do have a product and a value to that, so.
Well, I would imagine we could have kept the rates the same for another 5 years, provided we left the same docks in there, but that just wasn't.
We were
that just
gonna have
wasn't
to-
going to work for us.
We were gonna have to
or
buy a
anyone
lot of
else.
lifeboats. We were, in
Well,
the long run,
yeah.
we were gonna spend some money.
Yeah.
So these were and the rec board didn't take this lightly. They really did have a long discussion over it because they understand that times are tight and that we do appreciate our boaters, and we appreciate the support that we've had for the harbor. And so with this, and like I said, we are still the cheapest game in town, with I think one of the prettiest harbors, so.
Anything else from the senators?
Your turn.
Move to approve the fee schedule for Parks and Recreation.
Support.
Thanks, you guys.
Support.
Okay, motion is support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't remember whose turn it was.
Yes, right.
All right, next item will be to authorize the clerk to appoint election workers for the November 5th, 2013 general election. Ms. Perry.
Again, I need workers for precinct 1, 2, and also the receiving board that is required for the November 5th general election. We will not be using a AV counting board. It's a small election. We will process those in the precincts. So I am asking for your permission to have workers for the election.
Any questions? I'm not gonna nominate my father-in-law this time. I know.
You want to be welcome at his house in the future? Is that what you're saying?
No.
No, that's not what you're saying. It's my turn. Move to approve.
Support. A little slow.
I have motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And motion is carried. Hope the election goes well. Okay, next item on the agenda will be the rescinding of resolution number 2013-9. Ms. Falcon?
The next three are under my direction here. I apologize. This is in the process of turning our revolving loan fund, you know, over to Northern Initiatives, and I was following right from MEDC guidelines. If you plan to turn your funds over, you need to do notice of intent, resolution, you know, boom, 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 boom. That's what we did. Submitted them to Lansing and got an email back and said, you did one too many resolutions. My mistake.
Didn't it make you feel good, though,
Oh my
that they
God.
read it?
I don't know if it was your mistake.
Why do they
Who was
have to-
overseeing the meeting that night?
I mean,
Oh, please. Please. Whoa.
Better you than me.
Oh, hold here, it says me, yes. So, was it me?
Oh, uh-oh.
Asking to rescind was adopted on August 26th, so you were here for that
I
one.
was here, I don't think I'm the September one.
I know, they'll keep going, so.
so if you could rescind this one and the next one, and then we'll do the next one correctly, we should be all set.
Any questions from Ms.
One at a
Falcon?
time.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to rescind the resolution number 2013-9.
Support.
So motion is support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, motion's carried. Next item will be the rescinding of resolution number 2013-11.
So this could be amended, but Kim thought it would be better to rescind and then redo from scratch.
Yeah, it makes it cleaner.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So again, my apologies. Why they have to have a 28-page document to have a resolution is beyond me, so.
Don't try and make sense out of it, it'll drive you
I know,
crazy.
I know.
Okay, is there any questions from Ms. Falcon?
I move that we rescind resolution 2013-11.
Support.
Okay, a motion is support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one's carried. And next item will be the resolution number 2013-12.
So here's the new good one. Subrecipient agreement between the City of Gladstone and Northern Initiatives. They have been chosen by MEDC to be the Region 1 Fund Manager. So,
Move to approve.
Support.
We have a motion in support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. All right, next item on the agenda is the bid for Gladstone Area School Bus Garage. I know I mentioned earlier about possibly going to executive session. I think I brought that to your attention. So we can, I think, if we do go to that, or if we're looking at going to the executive session, I wouldn't mind moving over to the payment of the bills, and also new business O. That's all right.
It's okay with me.
Normally, something like this may not take that long, but who knows when we get into the executive session. All right, so next time we'll go to payment of the bills.
we have bills tonight before us in the amount of $38,041.23. Couple from wastewater, couple from water. I know Eric's here if you have any questions on Northern Machining and Repair, General Chemicals. Big Smile Technology, is that the WRAP grant?
Yep.
Okay. And Terrazzo Creations and Renewal?
That's the company I had in that fixed all the cracks in the filters and the clarifiers at the water and wastewater plant.
Any discussion or comments on the bills?
Just as a side note, total accounts payable for September, $934,607.05, and total payroll for September, $195,399.57.
Move to pay the bills. Support.
Okay, a motion to support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, next item will be the special meeting for the fiscal year 2012-2013 audit.
We had talked about this, I think, at the end of one of the other meetings, but as an agenda item, we can, it's in the minutes, it's published, it's already posted out front, to set the special audit meeting for October 28th at 5:30 PM, right here.
There was a question if Mr. LaMarche will be back. He's going to be back in
Yes.
town to work, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a note in my calendar book that says Tuesday the 29th. So
We were throwing that out there as a possibility as well.
If he wasn't available Monday.
okay.
And he met with staff last Tuesday, kind of meets with us and goes through each fund kind of separately and helps supervisors, understand their funds a little bit more. And
I'll make a motion to set the special meeting for Monday, October 28th, 2013 at 5:30 PM in the Commission chambers at City Hall.
Support.
A motion in support of Commissioner Mackey. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, let's go to the city manager's report.
if you notice, I didn't sign any of the staff reports. I did go through the agenda. I think it was Wednesday afternoon with Kim. I was tied up with I hosted the UP City Manager Fall meeting. Mayor Hunter joined us Friday morning for a couple minutes and welcomed everybody. Had an excellent turnout.
Yeah.
Friday morning was pretty gray and dismal, and I said at about 8:10 in the morning, I promise before you leave today, you will see the beautiful view. We were up at the sports park that we have every single day, looking at the Lake Michigan and stuff. And sure enough, the fog burned off, and before we left, everybody was in awe at the view that we have.
Is this how you balance the budget too that way, or you just make it happen, or what?
No. No, it was really good though. We got a chance to showcase the projects that we've done recently, and had a lot of discussions and questions on the harbor docks and the sports park master plan and some of our street funding, and it went very well. Very good attendance, and couldn't ask for better weather for the Thursday and Friday. So
Decorations at the building was nicely done.
thank you. Just to remind.
You put in a lot of time. I was recently at a scouting event where your son had the chance to stand up and talk, and he did a really good job. He's very good at speaking. You weren't able to be there. I'm sure you were tied up doing something else. So everybody should know that. Your husband was there, but he did a good
Just
job.
a reminder, tomorrow is the State Police Open House.
That's right.
Lakeshore Drive, a portion of that will be closed for that.
Hopefully the weather holds out.
Yeah. Did anybody hear are they going to have the plane fly in the field? The helicopter.
I believe they're having the radiation unit come
Okay.
up.
They were going to try to do that, but
Yep, I
Didn't really.
think that's still on the plan.
okay.
Where's everybody at?
We actually had to get some lights and hang them in the big pavilion for them because they're having a dinner at night.
Oh.
And so she called me today and she said, there's no lights in the big pavilion. And I said, it'll make the food better, I don't know. So, yeah, so we're scrambling just a little bit. She's kind of expecting a lot of people.
Just for the people here, because this isn't going to be aired in time, but Wednesday night, 7 o'clock is the candidate forum. Hugo will not be there. He will still be hunting, but so that'll be aired on Channel 21, right? Is that live on Charter Channel 21?
I won't be there.
You'll be at home watching it. Thursday night, I will be attending the OSF Heart of Gold dinner at the casino. I am on the OSF Community Foundation board, so this is the first year I've been able to attend that. And then October 23rd and 24th, I will be going with Tom White to the WPPI. It's a business meeting. Travel on the 23rd, and it's all day the 24th. We'll get back late on the 24th, but it was either the board, this business meeting or the annual meeting, and after a lot of discussion, we chose to go to this meeting, so kind of anxious to
October 24th?
Yes.
Are you needed for the ZBA?
No.
Okay.
Renee will be, you know.
Yeah, I
Presenting
just
or
didn't know if there was
anything,
some,
and
if
I'll be
there's
taking the
any
minutes.
questions that need to be, okay.
Nope, she's not, yeah.
Yeah.
You get out of that one.
I get the night off, Kim said.
Got it. Good.
So, that's all I have.
Very good. That's it?
Yep.
All right, next item will be the city commission, the city committee reports. Board and commission reports, kind of like a combination. Commissioner Mackey, anything? You able to attend anything?
No, I've been busy lately. I haven't attended a rec board meeting for a while.
Let's go to public comment. Okay, let's go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Gay.
The only thing I have, my trip to and from North Dakota, going through Minnesota, those warning lights, I don't know if we've heard anything further. I know Mayor Hunter was talking about that, but it's quite a common thing there when you're, a lot of those intersections where you have long straight stretch and you can see a light for a long period of time, as we've discussed previously. And it looks like they put bigger ones in because they're huge. They're absolutely, very visible from a long ways back. I didn't know if we'd heard anything else from MDOT, or I know there was discussion between Mayor Hunter and someone from MDOT.
Yeah, I know that when I talked to the representatives from MDOT, they were stating that even those warning lights,
Are not in compliance with federal regulation.
Yeah.
And if you follow the federal guidelines, you need to be in compliance with their regulations, and those might have been installed prior to the latest federal revisions that came out. That we had a meeting today, basically from 10 o'clock until about 4 o'clock with MDOT. We went through the whole corridor. We're discussing different options and ideas, and we meet again tomorrow. So it's being everything being discussed.
Something popped into my head from my trip down to Illinois last year. Are there cameras being used anywhere in Michigan, intersection cameras, in regards to?
not that I'm aware of.
I mean, it seemed like every corner
Maybe-
I was at when I was in Illinois.
You mean as far as for violations?
Correct. Yes.
No.
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe local municipalities, but I don't.
I'm just wondering if that
Always.
would be something to potentially look at for.
Well, there are cameras at a lot of different intersections, but there are none that I'm aware of that are being used for the purpose of issuing citations for red light violations.
Is that legal in Michigan to do that at this point?
No.
Okay.
It's not, because a civil infraction, except for certain specified exceptions, is to be witnessed personally by the officer. So that's why you don't see cameras used in Michigan at this point. MDOT has several cameras in different locations though to monitor weather conditions.
Right.
If you go to My Drive, that website
Right.
from MDOT, you can
Well,
see various locations.
I'm not a big advocate of Big Brother and eyes all over the place. However, in that situation, even if they've got it timed, like that's what you were saying. A lot of them, even with the warning lights, they'll time the warning lights if you put those in. If they don't stop when they're supposed to, they got you. And that to me would be a significant deterrent, especially considering the commercial fines are pretty hefty, but I had never seen them in Michigan either. I didn't think they were legal.
In the case of the recent accident there, that wouldn't have been a civil infraction. That would have been helped you aid in who was in that intersection when they shouldn't be there, right?
A camera?
Yeah,
Could have.
because somebody had a red and somebody had a green, right? And it could be hard sometimes to determine. The camera would prove it without question.
Correct.
That's some changing that would need to be done through legislative means.
Yeah.
You can almost make your civil infractions, if you're going to go that route, certain civil infraction at intersections that are cameraed, to be, the violation automatically goes to the registered owner, like you do with the parking ticket now.
I just recalled several times in the evening when I was down there in the northwest suburbs and that, someone blow through a red light and you'd see a flash, and someone else would blow through a red light, you'd see it flash, and I'd never seen that before in Michigan, but I think it would. The biggest issue is that it's common knowledge that light gets blown quite often, and a lot of times they're by larger vehicles, which by definition, mass times velocity, it's a lot of energy, and you would think that.
During these meetings today, MDOT looked at, I say MDOT, but we as a group, everything is on the table in terms of design, signage, light interval timing, all those issues as far as, not just that intersection, but the whole corridor from Escanaba to Rapid River is basically what they were looking at, so.
What's the rationale for is that discussed, the rationale for I understand it's limited access, but the increased speed limit between the north end of Gladstone and Rapid River, is that?
MDOT bases all of their speed limits off of what's called the 85th percentile, what 85% of the drivers are normally doing based on speed studies in those areas. The 85th percentile in the Rapid River area, or between Gladstone and Rapid River, when they did the study, put everybody at 65 or higher.
And the same thing could be said from that intersection, South Hill intersection, to Wells, essentially too.
Yeah, the informal 85th percentile studies that they've done in this stretch shows it to be 55.
Okay.
That there has to be some very specific documented reasons why you would reduce that or increase that speed if you're going out of the range of that 85th percentile is how the traffic manuals and what the engineers say in terms of doing those things. And MDOT, as well as we, shouldn't necessarily be in the practice of going outside of those norms of what they've found around the state. But we do have some unique instances in town. We have two signal crossings or signal intersections that both are somewhat related to a traffic or to a train traffic, and they're both 55-mile-an-hour sign signal intersections. You don't find too many 55-mile-an-hour signaled intersections throughout the state. We have maybe 5 or 6 of them in the UP, and 2 of them are here in Gladstone. So
The reason why it makes us unique here.
We could always put big roundabouts there too. Well, and it does slow people down. The problem is getting drivers acclimated in how to properly use a roundabout. That can be very challenging, especially with people that aren't used to driving in areas with lots of them.
One thing that was discussed too, and all of these are just the informal road safety audit that was done, but is some of the signage issues, whether there's too much, too little of signs in terms of font or actual size of the signs. All those things were brought up and talked about today, including the north entrance into Gladstone, the various ramps we have, exit and on ramps in Kipling, that area.
How about by First Bank?
What about it?
Did they talk about that enough?
We talked about it, the whole corridor.
Because I would like that whole thing changed.
Well, they also are trying to determine what would be possibly short-term, not necessarily less expensive, but shorter-term fixes that they can do immediately to maybe increase the safety or increase the traffic flow, more efficient, safer.
Good luck tomorrow. Thanks.
That's all I've
That's all you
got.
have? Commissioner Mackey?
Nicole, a gentleman asked me to bring up considering having art classes in schools paint murals on your skate park. It's the same gentleman who is always in the park cleaning up in the park. I'm pretty sure you know who he is. You don't know who he is. It's not important.
Oh, no, I do.
Oh, you do?
He's just there for the returnable bottles. I know who you're talking
I don't know about that. But he brought that up, and I said, that sounds like an interesting idea. And he says if you involve the kids, they would increase their ownership of their space,
Police their own.
police their own. So I said that's an idea I'd bring up.
Yeah, I could definitely bring that up in front of the
Pursue it,
board.
sure.
It needs paint. I don't know if a mural would be okay because it takes such a beating if you're gonna put the time and energy on the back part of it would have to be on the part that's not used and that part is not enclosed or has a paintable surface. But yes, anytime anybody wants to get involved to improve that, I would.
Oh, when you see him, have a conversation with him.
That's it. I got a phone call today from a citizen that had a truck fire. His name's Butch Irving. I know him personally.
Mm-hmm.
He called to pass on good words is what I wrote down here, but kudos basically to your department. Said the officers and the firemen who showed up were very professional, did a very good job. Unfortunately, he said he couldn't save the vehicle. I said, well, normally you're not going to anyway. But he just wanted to make sure. He said, I know that usually public safety and police, fire don't get enough recognition, at least good recognition. He said he wanted to make sure that it was brought to my attention, so please pass that on. That's all I have for here. So with that being said, we'll go back to new business, letter L, bid for Gladstone Area Schools bus garage. Ms. Falcon.
I would move that we go into executive session.
Let's support.
Okay. Motion and support for going into executive session. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Okay, we'll be in executive session.
And when we come out,